Hello everyone. So decided I'd show you guys my toolbox that I got for beekeeping. I got to reorganize it. Had a swarm and I had to dump all my tools out and use it because my nukes were a long ways off. Oh, those are a little damp still from that rain. It was a rough day. Anywho, so I bought one of the, what is it, Merrill, I don't know. Bought one of the toolboxes from Brushy Mountain Bee Farm. Yeah, there's their logo. I like their company. I also order from betterbee.com. Where did I put that cork? I don't know, makes no odds. But anyways, that's a nice spot for, you know, frame lifter tool. Got a spot for my smoker, my frame perch, those things. I'm telling you, frame perch, get yourself one. Oh my god, they are wonderful. I gotta paint it, take it apart and paint it when I got time. Hive tool. This one I just keep on hand in case somebody decides to come to the hive to help me. Oh, it's been a big year for pincher-meyers. Oh, and then on this side here's the brush, which is held in by pressure. I don't really. So alright, so I actually carry two brushes. The one that came with this box, and where did I? There it is. And I also have a horsetail one. This one I prefer, but it doesn't really fit in this slot. I mean, it does, but it slides out through the bottom. So if I wanted to have that as my go-to on the outside, I'd have to modify that slot. Actually, I think there's enough room. No, there's not. But anyway, this is my. Let's put this up here. Lost my tripod. But anyway, this is my go-to hive tool. I got this from betterbee.com. It has a lot more things on it. It's a universal one. Basically, it's a bunch of tools in one. Oh, where'd that piece go? There it is. So this lives in my toolbox as well. So you have your usual crowbar style, this little hammering side. You have a frame group cleaner. You have a nail puller still, and of course your usual body priers. This is for prying frames up out, and it also has this little hammer here, which, so I don't lose it here. Here we go. I don't keep the hammer on it. I keep that in my box. Anyway, so I got a hive or frame that's falling apart. I can hammer it back together. Great tool. I prefer this one. That way I'm not carrying around 2 or 3 different styles of hive tools. So anyway, let me clean this box out, and as I put it all back in, I'll show you what I got. Got a carry in it. Alright. And of course the world falls down. See if I can get the balance on that barrel to an extent. Anyway. There we go. Okay. So, what do I keep in there? For starters, smoker fuel. It's just shavings, little wood chunks from the wood shop. Works really great for my smoker. I prefer that. Oh, and for the paper for it, I have these papers that, so if you're familiar with ordering your foundation for your frames, I prefer the wax crimped wire, embedded crimped wire foundation. It comes in between each piece of wax foundation is this paper. It's tissue paper, and it's got some wax on it. So I prefer to use this as my starter paper. And I've yet to get a container for that, so it's easier to handle. But anyways, so I have an extra veil that I keep in here. So if someone wants to help, I'm prepared for them. That goes in there. My marking pens, those go in there as well. These little tins are great. I bought these wafers at the dollar store. To tell you the truth, I was really just after the tin, but I had a gut ache after I ate them all because I ordered a lot of them. And this one is frame nails and support pins. I just put them there for now until I can get a toolbox together. Like this one here has wedge pins or wedge nails. That's just to keep them organized. And I throw them in here just to keep track of them until I get a different toolbox for them. See some of my marking pins. Here's my plunger that I marked the queen with. That goes in here as well. Oh, I made a cheat sheet. I just got to laminate it for the color code for marking my queens. And once I get it in here, I'm gonna mount it to the inner lid in here. Anyways, that goes in here as well. I'm just gonna fold it down real quick to. I'm gonna laminate them, but you could probably just wrap them in tape. But that helps me, so I ain't gotta try to remember. And when I'm in, especially when I'm in the field. I keep some extra California style queen cages. These I got from betterbee.com. They're fairly inexpensive. The only thing they don't come with is the candy plug, but they do have little corks to put in the ends. So I keep some of those in there just in case. I don't use them yet, but I haven't had to use them yet. But I just got them, so next year, if we decide to sell some queens. Metal queen catcher. I like the metal ones. They stay together longer. Betterbee.com. There was a guy, I can't remember. I'll put a link to his site. I really like his site. If I can find it. He didn't know where he could get a hold of these. Betterbee.com has them. Most other places sell the plastic ones, which I'm going to pick up a plastic one so that if I'm training people, they don't wreck my good one. Use this a lot this year to mark my queens. What do we got here? Oh, these are instructions that I keep in here just so I don't lose them. I'll show you what the tool that they go to here in a minute. So, EpiPens. I am allergic, so I keep EpiPens on hand. And I'm going to be switching this out for the liquid Benadryl, but I do have the pill form here. I just want the liquid because I feel it activates a little bit quicker, even though it's a little bit more expensive. Anyways, let's see, get those pills, all these pill packets back in here. EpiPens. I need some duct tape. These are going to have their own sheath I'm going to make, and they're going to be mounted to the inside of the lid. But anyways, these go and they live in the corner for easy grabs, just in case. Whenever I do take people out to the hives with me, I make sure they know where those are, and I train them with the trainer that comes with the EpiPens. Which reminds me, I've got to get another one of these soon. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a new one next year. Anyway, I don't have a container for these yet, but I have molds to make 1 ounce beeswax blocks. Beeswax blocks. Ooh, mouthful. And those are for these plastic foundation frames, which, to make it more bee friendly, I take the box block, this is a little nub for one, and I rub it all over it. I've gotten them 1 ounce block to go for 10 of these deep frames. But I don't care for these plastic ones, but these were an emergency pickup, so that's what I got. Anyways, I rub it all over it, and it smells like wax when you're done, and the bees take to them better. So, my wax blocks. I'll be waxing them. I'll be wrapping them in wax paper, but actually for now I'm going to use this tissue paper. That way they just don't stick to everything in there. And I'll be building a plunger rigging of some sort that'll fit those so that I can use them like a crayon easier, grip them a little bit better. But yeah, so those live in there along with all this other stuff. So okay, and I have a press-in queen cage, so if I see the queen on a frame and she's in a good spot, I can push this into the frame and catch her with it. I haven't used this yet, but I've used them in the past. I prefer the queen cage right here, or queen trap, queen catcher. I prefer that style, just because I've seen the queens in multiple places on the frames, and that's the easiest way I know to, or the easiest way for me to catch them. So anyways, I put my good bee brush in here. I'm gonna put that on the lid. Anyways, alright, so my good hive tool, or rather the one I prefer. Scissors, I've gotten into putting scissors in there for cutting comb pieces, and this actually hasn't been used for that yet. But for instance, I had a bottom board that didn't have a screen, so I put some screen in it, cut the screen, and then stapled it in. So these, good tool I'm going to keep in there now. Of course, my trainer for my EpiPen. This there I just saved for information, but it's one of my pen containers, so basically it's just garbage. torch, to be truthful about it, this thing doesn't like to stay lit. Even though I keep it nice and clean, just slides a bit of breeze and the damn thing goes out. And I found when you're trying to light the smoker, unless you're like this, you go to reach in, even at an angle like this, it goes out. So I'm actually not going to put that back in there. I'm going to take that, put it back in my other toolbox for my soldering. I feel something's missing. Oh, my gloves, they usually live in here, so they're easier to find. And I usually keep a spare set in there. So that's what lives in there. Oh yeah, I got a full suit. I leave my rubber boots attached to it. Because I'm allergic, I prefer a full suit when working my bees. Safety precaution for me. These bees that I work with are excellent to work with. They are very docile compared to some hives I've worked in the past. So that's just, I wear a full suit just because I'm allergic. And you can see sweat stains already on it. Of course, there's grass from weed whacking around them and wax stains, and it's getting there. Pretty soon it'll look like a professional suit, unless they keep theirs spotless. In here I have a inspector jacket too, if people prefer to use that, if they're helping me. Alright, so let me show you two other tools I have. This is a foundation jig. So I have my frame put together. So this is for a deep. It falls into all the grooves, and what it does is it lines everything up with the pins. This is good for deep, medium, and small frames. Helps me line up my foundation. I like it. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't keep it around. And then I also have a frame building jig. I can break this down for small frames and medium frames, and then I can keep it this size for large. And it comes with these inserts that I'm going to rebuild out of plywood, because these are like a cardboard-ish, high density cardboard. But yeah, I just insert these into here and they hold my frame ends up, and then I put the bottoms and bottom bars on. Just for sake of keeping track until I get a better shop put together, I will be keeping these also in my toolbox here. And it also helps keep my paperwork that I keep in here to one side. Yeah, it fits right down in there. Alright, what else I got that I can show you? Oh, yeah, these toolboxes, like I was saying earlier, I caught a swarm with this box. So I put my frames in here. I had them all made up. And got them in here, got below the swarm, knocked them in, and left. And I made sure I got the queen in here. And I left this with my bee brush like this. Of course, all the tools were out of it, but cracked. And I left it there for, I don't know, half hour or so underneath where the swarm was, and all the other bees went right into it. Then I just lifted the lid, took my brush, brushed them in the rest of the way, and closed the lid, and then put them in their new home. But yeah, there's that toolbox. The only thing I don't like about this is these straps, I feel, I like to carry this on my shoulder, so it's a little awkward with these short straps, but other than that, I like it. Keeps all my tools in one spot. Easy grabs. Plus, like I said, if there's an emergency bee collection, I can dump everything right out on the ground, grab some frames, and bada boom, bada bing, there's a swarm box. Here's my little dilapidated setup right now. Working on getting it more organized. These are honey supers that are ready to rock and roll. These are medium frames. All medium frames. So I had to do, I realized they originally started out as small, a lot of them started out as smalls. And I had to put some shims on them to make them mediums, because I realized that I'd ordered a whole bunch of medium frames and I weren't about ready to send them back, so I just figured out what I needed to make those from a true medium honey super, and it turned out I only needed an extra inch, and now those are proper sized. So this is a stack that's ready to rock and roll. This is a stack that needs some work and or frames. So for instance, even though this is appears to be a full and ready to rock and roll, it needs pins. Otherwise, when I put these in the honey extractor, they're gonna break apart on me, and I don't want that. And the one underneath needs foundation and frames. That's a deep one on the bottom. My queen excluders, I have a plastic one out there on the bench. So these here came from homemade frames, and they were not properly made. Their spacing was way out of whack. So I took them apart, and I used these to block up under the back of my hives, so that rain and water, you know, any moisture drains out the front properly. So that's why I kept those. Of course, veil. There's one veil. Whoop, falling down all over the place. 2 veil. I got medium and small gloves. Oh, this is a cute little thing. So I added a shim on the bottom, and it made it the proper size for a small frame. And then I realized after I did it, I was like, wait a minute. That's so that you can put that with a, I think it's a medium. Anyways, you can make if you got 2 different sizes, you can put them together and make it a whole, you know, a regular size super. Anyway, yeah, I goofed on that. So I'm gonna take that shim back off. But for now, it makes a good little holding spot for those pieces. These are extra brushes for when people show up to help. Oh, that's where that ratchet strap went. 2 of them. Excellent. I got some jar feeders here. I don't like this style. I just keep them around to show people. Extra high fuel, extra smoker, burlap, so if I decide to burn some of that for lighting. See, I got some pieces here. I'm just going to use some today when I hit the hives. Whole bunch of extra medium frames. But yeah, I'll put that burlap right there. But anyways, yeah. So, and this is a set of. Whoop, these are ones I got to peel the wax off from and get some different foundation for. So this is cool. The only reason I pulled this out of the hive was I didn't want it there, because it was hanging in there at an angle. But I figured to make a nice little teaching piece, so I'm going to put it in a different container to protect it. Alright, so these are plastic, and these need to be waxed. Yeah, they need to be waxed. I'm not putting pins in these because this is a rigid plastic. So I'm not worried about that falling out. I do have a foundation one in here, regular wax foundation, that does need pins. But if it's an emergency, I'll go throw this in after I wax these other ones, and I won't worry about this one. I'll deal with it on the other end. And worst comes to worst, I get some wax to harvest. So yeah, there's my toolbox. This is what I've got going so far for bee stuff in this shed. I got some cleaning to do in here. Oh, this is fun. So this is some people like these, I don't. Actually, this is a drone foundation frame. So this actually, okay, so devil's advocate. This one I actually do love. It needs a hell of a cleaning. So say you have a mite problem. These are nice to put in there because the queen will only lay drone eggs in here. And then you take it out and throw it in the freezer. Yes, it kills all the drone brood. But then you uncap it, throw it back in the hive, and bees will clean out all the dead, and with them all of your mites that are on the drones. So it's a mite control. I don't like the ones, the honey supers and deep frames that are strictly for that some people can buy for these. I don't even like the plastic foundations. Mainly because they're a petroleum product, but the bees don't seem to like them as much, so I don't like them. They can and they will use them, but if I have the choice, I'm not using them. That's just personal preference. Some people use them and love them. Hats off to them. I'd rather spend some extra time to put together, carefully putting these together. Which this was haphazard ones that got messed up in between here in the hive, so that's why those got replaced. But yeah, okay, so I'm going to get my stuff together, get my suit on and all that. Now I'm going to go out to the bees, and I will take my camera with me. Have a good one.